Hey
And one
guys,
question, Deanne, are we recording yet?
We are recording. Thank you.
You're welcome.
hi, welcome to the first webinar of this year's OMA session. And thank you everybody for taking the time to join, since the hot topic at the Denver conference was VoIP, and has been really for the last couple of years. We've got some good players now that have joined OMA and are participating and giving us the due respect that all us OMA members deserve, right? And thank you, Joel Maloff, for joining. And he's been fielding some calls since the since the conference. And so we thought we'd incorporate some of the answers and have a discussion about that. Joel, if you want to click to the intro, I'll just kind of run through the overview real quick. All right, so I'll let Joel introduce himself, but he is the Executive Vice President at Phone.com, working with at Spectrio for 3 years or so, and he was at the OMA conference, so if you were able to attend, you met him there, hopefully. And what we wanted to kind of cover today was what OMA members should expect from any VoIP provider. In this case, it's of the flavor of a hosted provider, meaning that it's in the cloud, as you know, versus an on-premise. But what should an OMA member expect, addressing some of the OMA members' concerns about hosted VoIP, maybe get into a little bit about the VoIP service provider channel partner programs and what's in it for OMA members. Some real world experiences I've had, and maybe some of you others have had, of course, and how we can build a strong relationship, and then do some Q&A. So I'll turn it over to Joel, and let's get going.
Thank you very much, Mitch. And just to add to the introduction, I am the Senior Vice President for Strategic Alliances and Partnerships at Phone.com. I've been with the company going on 7 years now, and originally came in to create the Channel Partner Program. That was, well, almost 7 years ago. We now have over 280 members of our Channel Partner Program, covering a variety of areas. And one of the ones that has been most interesting is the category of channel partners that use Phone.com as an enabling technology. Now, I understand that this is intended to be a generic presentation. I'm going to give you some examples from my experience, but this is not a Phone.com pitch in any way. It's really intended to build on the discussions that we had in Denver. So the first point that I want to bring up are VoIP services and how do they complement OMA member offerings. When we talk about voice over IP, there are several categories of service. One is what is called a hosted PBX, or a replacement for a physical premises-based PBX system. That is one of the offerings that Phone.com provides. This is also called cloud voice and a variety of other terms. In addition to that, there also is the ability for companies that have a premises-based system, a PBX, a phone system, to replace their phone company trunks. They're called PRIs, primary rate interface, or otherwise, and they can be relatively expensive. They can be replaced with something called SIP trunks.
Okay.
So these are different kinds of VoIP services. How do they complement OMA member offerings? One of the challenges that I've become aware of in the time that I've worked with Mitch, and in my time with many of you at the Denver conference, is that your customers that you're providing on-hold messaging services to need a phone system of some sort. If that phone system is not capable of accommodating your offerings, you need another device, or in some cases, they're actually looking at your competitors to go provide those services through something like what Phone.com offers. So the bottom line is, by working together with the VoIP providers OMA members actually have the opportunity to benefit from that. And we're going to talk about that a bit more. One of the other areas is that this allows OMA members to diversify solutions. Rather than just having the same offering that you've had for 15, 20 years very successfully, the world is changing. How can you diversify, modify the offerings that you have to be more competitive and more successful as the industry evolves? Becoming a caller experience partner and not just another vendor. This is actually an interesting concept, because when you look at partnering with a voice over IP provider, you're creating an additional avenue. That's an avenue for additional revenue for you. It's an avenue for additional stickiness for retaining that customer. You're not just another commodity vendor, you're a partner for that particular client or customer. This goes hand in hand with increasing customer retention. Anybody in business knows the biggest challenge after you've sold a customer is retaining that customer. How do we go about doing that in a way that's beneficial to OMA members? Now, cloud-based versus premises-based telephony services. I touched on this a few moments earlier. Within the cloud, when you have a service like that provided by Phone.com, there is no hardware on the customer's location except for a phone. And that can be a voice over IP phone, it can be a speaker phone. There are a variety of VoIP endpoints that can be used. In a premises-based telephony system, the phone system is physically located at the customer's property. Well, the challenge with that is that how do you, as an OMA member, get your messaging to that customer's system? Sometimes you can, sometimes you can't. If you have a customer that went out and bought their phones at Walmart, there really isn't a system there. So you are left with having to provide some sort of physical device or other method for providing your services. In a cloud-based environment, you actually have the ability to directly access that client or customer's phone system, upload your messages, establish time of day, day of week, holiday. All of these different things can be done remotely with you acting as a more integral partner to that customer than previous. So when OMA members are looking for a voice over IP partner, what are some of the characteristics that you ought to be looking for? Well, I would offer that the first one is experience. How long has the organization been in the voice over IP business? What areas do they cover? For example, I met many of your members that are from Canada. Phone.com is licensed to offer services in Canada. We do that. We recognize that as an important area. Is the voice over IP provider regional? I mean, if they only serve Arizona, great for your customers in Arizona, but what if you have customers that are elsewhere? What kind of experience do they have? This is one that I think is really important: superior quality.
Thanks, Joe.
Yes, did someone have a question?
Hey.
Sorry. And by the way, I didn't mention this. I believe that the plan
We need to mute Joe.
Yeah, I believe the plan for this is to hold questions until the end,
Okay.
if you don't mind.
Okay, good.
So again, superior quality is something that's very important. If you are working with a partner and you are representing that partner as part of your solution to that client, they better have superior quality, because otherwise it's egg on everyone's face. It's not a good thing. You have to be able to rely on your partner. This one is important: flexibility. You are going to have off-the-wall opportunities, something that we in the voice over IP business have never heard of, never thought about doing something a certain way. You're going to come to us and you're going to say, you know, I have a situation where I have 10 stores. They're all owned by the same person. They all want to have the same configuration, But when I go to set up all of my call handling rules, I've got to do this 10 times over, and it takes me 4 hours to do each one. Well, I don't really want to do that. Is there a way that we can clone that? Well, that's a real world example. That happened. When I was approached for that, we went, I don't know. And within, I believe, 6 to 9 months, we solved it. Is your provider flexible for your requirements? Attractive pricing. You know, we try not to be commodity based, but at the end of the day, if you're overpriced, you're not going to be able to sell it to your customers. Is your VoIP partner capable of working with you with attractive pricing in the industry? And I think this is probably the most important. Valued partner treatment. When you go to your voice over IP partner, are you small potatoes? Are you an afterthought? Or are you a valued partner that they are willing to listen to what you have to say, consider what your needs are, and do what is necessary to help you be successful? That is valued partner treatment. So when I was in Denver, I heard several concerns from members. I've also heard these subsequent to that on the phone. We're not technical. How can we go about doing this? We sell on-hold messaging, not phone service. It's not our business. So when you are looking for your voice over IP partner, how much do you have to do, or how little do you need to do? Again, not meaning to be a commercial, I can tell you phone.com will work with any of you. We're already doing that. We have members that come to us and say, okay, I've got a client. I want to sell my on-hold messaging service to them. Their phone system doesn't work. Please call them and sell your solution. So we do. We have clients, partners that will come to us and want to do everything. They want to set up the call handling rules. They want to very granularly establish what each of their customers are able to do. So the short answer is, as you are looking for a partner, what do they need you to do? How well are they able to work with your specific model? When I talk about channel partner programs, these are established programs that communications providers, voice over IP providers have to work with people that act as the channel, the agent, if you will. As I mentioned at the beginning, I was brought into phone.com to create that program going on 7 years ago. We've been able to work with a variety of partners, and to do that, we established some tools. One of the ones is what I call our agent portal, and this is an example of what that looks like. When you sign up with us, you are assigned a tracking URL or web address. This web address is then used for you to sign up customers, and we can link that back so that we see all of the customers or clients that you have signed up. You then have the ability to go into that portal and you can see who is the customer, what was their order date, what was their initial monthly recurring revenue, what is it currently. And then this is where it gets exciting. Where it says log in, you can click on this button and drill down into that customer's account to the point where you actually can establish their call handling rules for them. You can upload your recordings. You change them, you modify them, you upload them. You set the time of day, day of week, holiday schedule. All of this is done via our customer portal, but because you're an agent, a channel partner member, you have the ability to manage that. Now, do you have to? Absolutely not. But for those of you that want more and more control over your clients, this is an opportunity to do that. Now, I would encourage you, as you are considering your VoIP partners, ask them about the tools that they will provide to you. How will you be able to work with your customers once you've signed up. I can show you this, and there's much more here, but I wanted to use that as an example. So one of the other areas I wanted to talk about for channel partner programs are participation. What do the various VoIP providers expect of you when you are participating? Is there a fee to belong? There is none for phone.com. That is not true for everybody. Sometimes there is a charge to be a partner. Do you get commissions? I'll tell you right up front, we pay commissions on everything except for hardware because there's very little markup, and taxes, fees, that kind of thing. Everything else, we're going to pay you a commission on a recurring basis. That means for the life of that customer, as long as they are paying us, we are going to pay you. That's how our program works. How does the program of any other vendor that you're considering work? SPIFs, incentive programs. What kind of incentives do they have? Is there an incentive for certain kinds of services? And then obligations. This one is interesting. Some programs have a minimum requirement. You have a minimum revenue, minimum recent activity, or they cut you off. They no longer pay commissions if you have not met your obligations. We don't have any. We've had agents that have been inactive for 3 years. I don't charge them. It's not the way we do business. 3 years later, they start doing business. Great, happy to do that. What kind of interaction is there? With our channel partner program, we have constant contact with our partners. We will work with you however needed. What about the other providers you're considering? What are their programs? So what's in it for OMA members? Well, commissions, I mentioned that a moment ago. They can actually add up. If you have a large number of customers and you are working with growing them, I can tell you, and again, no numbers, but I can tell you it can be a reasonably nice revenue stream. Here's another one. If you are technically inclined and wish to do it, you actually can charge an add-on fee to your clients for managing their service. So we give you the ability to go in and manage. You can charge a management fee. Many of our agents do that. Here's another one, blocking competition. If you don't have a VoIP solution for your clients, someone else will. And I mean, I don't mean to be blunt, but that's about as straightforward as you can get. It's out there. You can't ignore it. So how are you going to compete? You also can, again, as we talked about earlier, increase retention by creating stickiness, greater customer value. They're not going to go somewhere else if your services are good, you've been able to meet their requirements, the quality of the VoIP service is good. Why would they need to go somewhere else? You can retain those customers. So the next slide is on real-world experiences. And Mitch, I believe this was yours. Are you there? And
Yes.
Do you want to speak to this?
Let's go ahead and pull up the bullets there.
Oops, sorry.
I think this was, yeah, you put this together, but I can certainly speak to it. No problem. Setting up new accounts. When you're looking for a VoIP provider or a partner, one thing that's important is, customers, they'll wait. I'm sure none of you have ever experienced this, but they take forever to make a decision. And then once they do, how fast can you get it going? So onboarding process, how quick, and what are all the details that are needed, and the questions that need to be asked to onboard a new customer. How robust is it to manipulate the messaging? We've all talked at our conferences about, does the on-hold start from the beginning? Does it loop? Can you do things very similar to Premier's call handler, where you can actually have an auto attendant answer the call, force a quick greeting or promotional announcement, and then let it ring through or give other options. So how robust is the messaging that can be delivered to the client, and when and where? Can you do it by extension? Can you do it by phone line? All the things that us as Onhold providers have been wrestling with and customers have been asking for years, that have not always been available throughout the 30-year history of some of our businesses. How easy is it to plan call flow? Their phone tree, how easy is it to put together and to change? Can you structure that where you can schedule different call flows on different days? So all of us have been writing content and recording content for auto attendant greetings as a complimentary service for our on-hold customers. So how easy is it to extend that to this platform? Holiday greetings, it's our retail season. It's our busiest time of the season for most of us in the business. And the holiday, Christmas, winter season is just, we're all just slammed, not only providing holiday greetings, but taking off holiday greetings at the appropriate time. How easy is that to do? How can you set that up where it doesn't kill your staff? And then Joel had mentioned cloning accounts. And that was one thing I kind of brought up. And his organization was very good about accommodating that feature. But what we were having to do is we would get into a multi-location account and have to set up their account, as we're one of the providers that does manage the entire process for them. But what we would do would be basically we would have to build the wheel every single time. So we'd have to set up account, set up all the call handling, and there would be very little variation between one client to the next because it was all the same franchise. So on the challenge, and they were able to go ahead and make it where we could actually take a whole set of rules, not only the programming, but the greetings and everything, and make a copy of it and kind of do a save as. And so that's one thing that as you get deeper into providing this service, should you choose to be the management provider for this type of component as part of your service, and these are all really good things that before you leap, you're going to want to look and make sure it's available. So assessing the needs and creating the solution for the client, I have found to be extremely valuable because we have written auto attendant and we have designed phone systems for our own businesses. And we want to keep the phone guy out of our customers' on hold space as much as possible. We've helped them a lot in how we develop and design, these greetings. And what I've found with partnering with a VoIP provider, that it's really nice to be able to answer a lot of common questions by using the auto attendant to do it and do it professionally with our recording studios and our talent and folks like JoJo and really great music. So hours and address and location information. One of the selling points I use is, why are you paying your employees to tell people how to get to your doctor's office when they could simply get a greeting and give them directions to get there? And I've found from a lot of my customers that they tell me, yeah, I hear my employees all the time saying, we're across from the Wendy's right next door to, the Walmart at Main and First Street. And so we've eliminated a lot of that employee time that is eaten up by giving these common directions and hours and so on and so forth. So in this example, it's just an office, a doctor's office per se, or a dentist. So press 1 for hours, press 2 for appointments. And what's cool about hosted VoIP is they could have, say, 3 doctor's offices, and one person at office 1 is in charge of appointments and maybe refilling prescriptions and taking those calls, and maybe there's someone at office 2 that handles the insurance provider. So you can use the auto attendant greeting and they call one phone number, but they don't really know, the end user, the caller does not really know or need to know what brick and mortar place that call is being received and their needs are getting attended to. It could be the doctor's wife working from home that has one of the phones there. So maybe they have 3 phones at the office and they're handling day-to-day practice, but maybe the doctor's wife or their office manager works from a home office or another location. They can handle all those needs seamlessly with a solution like this. So you can route calls, as you guys can see, appropriately, whether it's insurance providers, prescriptions, setting appointments, common questions, or anything else. And then, of course, repeat the menu. Another thing that's really cool is the VoIP provider should have a robust enough system where you can play different on-hold messages, different on-hold greetings while the call is being transferred. So what I find very exciting in this realm is that if I know somebody has pressed 2 for appointments, I might customize that on-hold experience to what they have selected. If they want prescriptions, maybe I want a different message to play. If it's an insurance provider, maybe I want a different message to play. So a VoIP provider should be able to not only segment what the customer is hearing while they're on hold when they press one of the options in the phone tree, that could be a separate file, audio file, than what is played when the hold button is hit. So with a good VoIP solution, I feel like when I press 2 for appointments, that message should start from the beginning while the phone is ringing until somebody picks up. Whereas when the hold button is hit, I want it random. I want that to loop. So fortunately, it's something that I've been able to work with our partner and Joel to make happen. So that just kind of gives you a real world example. That being said, I'll turn it back over to Joel and I'll be there for Q&A if anybody has any additional questions when we get to the end.
Great. Thank you, Mitch. And just so all of you understand, that the past 3 years in working with Spectrio and Mitch has been a learning experience for me and for our company. I didn't know very much about the on-hold messaging business. I certainly don't know as much now as all of you do, but I know a lot more than I did 3 years ago, and we've worked very closely. That's the point I want to get to on this slide. It's really all about relationships. When you are selecting a voice over IP partner, how responsive are they going to be? And candidly, who are you dealing with? Are you dealing with a low-level agent manager? And again, I don't mean to be derogatory, but if they're getting paid $35,000, $40,000 a year, yeah, they're going to do their job. Are you dealing with someone who is at a higher level of the business and has the ability to understand your requirements and make decisions to make things happen? It really depends on what you're looking for, but responsiveness is important. Understanding what your requirements are is very important. You have to have someone that can digest what it is you're asking, why it is important to you, and determine if that can be done. I like this one, the desire to excel together. I get a kick every time we have a joint customer that we're working on with Spectrio or with any of our other partners. I like to know, what is that customer's business? What are they doing? How can we collectively help that customer succeed, which in turn creates stickiness for both of our organizations? Does your VoIP partner have that? Creating new solutions for OMA members. I don't want to beat this up. As I mentioned earlier, and as Mitch mentioned, he came to us and said, we got a problem. This isn't working. What can you do about it? And we went back. We put the best minds in the business on it, and we found a solution. We can do that with you. That's really everything that I had wanted to cover. I think we're at a point now where we can open it up for questions.
If anybody has any questions, please just unmute yourself. If you cannot, write me a note over in the side group chat and I will definitely get you unmuted. But you should be able to just go on to your name on the participant list. Just click manage or participants down at the bottom and you should find your name. But I'll go through and unmute people too.
Joel, this is Michael. I've got a question.
Go ahead, Michael.
I've run into some situation where there's a difference. Is there any certain hardware requirements? Is there certain brands of routers or certain requirements that do or do not work?
Sure. Let me repeat the question. The question is, are there any specific hardware requirements? Are there routers or otherwise for our system to work? The short answer is for routers, not really, although some routers do have a function called Application Layer Gateway, or ALG, that is enabled and can interfere with voice over IP. In most cases, that can be disabled. However, with some providers, for example, some of the cable companies that provide the router, that is purposely enabled because they want to sell their services. So that's one part of it. Then on the device side or hardware side, we do certify a very large number of devices, pretty much more than most of our competitors. If you were to come to us and say, I have an XYZ phone, will that work? We can probably answer that for you. We've probably tested most of them. We do support all of the major vendors like Polycom, Cisco, Yealink, Panasonic, and a few others. And one other point that I would make in answering your question is we do allow what we call BYOD, bring your own device, as long as it is an approved device. And of course, we also sell devices that are in fact certified with our system. Does that answer your question, Michael?
Pretty much, yeah, because I ran into that at home. I have a home office and a business office, and at home I was having trouble, and I did have to turn that ALG off. It was giving me grief. And the other point that kind of layers with that, it's I've noticed there's a dramatic difference between residential on-hold or high-speed internet and business class. I have Comcast. On Comcast Business, they give priority to voice packets, but on the home, they don't. And if 100 people are watching Netflix in your neighborhood, it might have some trouble in a residential environment.
Yeah, that's because it is a shared service and there is no dedication like you're describing. So the answer is yes. I actually have Comcast in my home office. I live in a condo complex, and so during the day, no problem at all. If I wanted to use it at night, yeah, it might be a little slower. Yes, that is an issue. However, one of the things they're doing, I think the last time I did a speed test, I had 90 meg down and 15 or 20 up. And the short answer is if I've got half a meg for a two-way voice conversation, that's plenty. And so in many ways, the volume of a bandwidth that you have is overcoming that issue. Other questions?
This is Jay. I have a question.
Sure, Jay.
Are y'all accepting streaming, and are you familiar with any of the hosted VoIP companies that do and the success they're having with it?
Yeah, Jay, I think we had that discussion in Denver on streaming. And right now we are still working at phone.com to accept streaming. I did have a discussion with one of the OMA members in terms of what they were looking for, and we actually can accomplish it with our current system in terms of static files. But yes, I am aware of what some of the other providers are doing, and no, it's not something that I have as a standard offering today.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Other questions?
Hey, this is,
You guys are working on it? Cool.
Yes, we are working on it. I have no time frame, however.
Okay.
Michael here, jumping in again on this. My observation with doing streaming, it's changed a little bit, at least here in my world. It used to be you'd get 5 IP addresses for $10 a month to static, but now they're $25 a piece. So if I were to set something up to stream from my office to a customer's location, it's going to add $25 a month, plus I have to have enough bandwidth for it. So I don't know if that's necessarily great. And Joel, I don't think you had addressed it. Some of the hosted VoIP companies do either random file shuffle play, or you do it a little bit differently, and you can explain how it works with you. But a majority, it always starts at the beginning, right?
Yeah. For us, that is not the case. We do have the ability to start it randomly. And I know that that is something that we've actually done with some of Spectrio's customers. So we've demonstrated that.
But it's just a concern if you're looking at it with certain providers. If it always starts at the beginning, I just have to be aware of that as an on-hold provider to make sure that are they a good match for me to do business with, and because I don't like that. So.
Well, you're absolutely right, and I'm biting my tongue from saying yes, I do that, and waving my hand. So we understand that as an issue. Other questions from anyone?
Yeah,
I have a question. Sorry, Jack, you go ahead, and then I'll come in after.
Okay, I'm still a little unclear. Is it a standard for you guys to? How does your loop work, or does it?
Short answer is we randomize the file. So when a customer is on hold, if he puts it on hold, he'll hear the message at a random point within that message. It will not start at the beginning every time.
Okay.
So I don't know how else to explain it.
So all we have to do is load it on there. If we have access to the customer, we just load it on there and it does its thing.
Well, only if you click the radio button that says make it random.
Okay.
Otherwise,
Good.
it's going to do it from the beginning, but you have that ability.
Okay, that's.
And random is the default setting in Joel's solution. Yeah, it works just like a digital announcer that we would put out there in the field on a PBX now. It's just, even though the file's not physically always playing, it acts like it is. So they're dropped in so you get the variety.
So we don't have to shuffle then. We don't have to put in separate audio files to shuffle. Good.
We create it just like we normally create any production for any device, and it just randomizes, just like when you hit the whole button on your phone system now. So it mimics the behavior of digital announcer from any other manufacturers out there now. Well, over here.
It never goes to the same spot, just to begin.
Right.
But that's an option.
Once it begins, it is a loop like.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
We're getting some feedback there.
Right. Which is really what it does now. The only thing is the person with the hold button is making the choice.
Other questions?
Yeah, I have a quick question about Canada. You were saying your Service Canada. We're vetting one of your products right now, and you know it works really just fine. But there's not people want their local phone numbers, and we noticed that the area codes in Canada don't seem to be available like they are in the States. And then also there was this. We were getting a 10-cent bill because it made it out like it was an international call every time we made a call. So I'm just wondering if you're going to have access to all of the area codes in Canada, and if we can get rid of that international calling fee.
Yeah, I'm not sure about the 10 cents. That's new to me. I'll have to look into that. On Canadian DIDs, direct inward dial local numbers, you can come to my group. Leslie Roberts is my channel partner support person. We can identify from our carriers numbers that are available. They may not be available when you go looking for them on our site, but we can get them. Just let us know, we'll get them for you.
Yeah, that's the key, as long as we can get them, because people are really partial to area codes here in Canada.
Absolutely, and that's true everywhere.
Okay, good.
You know, so, no, we absolutely can do that. Let us know, and we'll help you.
Okay, good. Thanks, Joel.
You're welcome. Other questions? I know we haven't answered everything for you. Going once?
As a point of clarification, this is Mitch. Did you guys understand and grasp kind of how I was explaining how a message can start from the beginning when you're calling and you're routing through the phone tree, through the auto attendant? Everybody get that?
Mitch, they're not going to say no.
They might. A lot of people say no to me.
No.
I have just an observation here and a question. I know that other providers provide this, and was just checking with phone.com, but
Sure.
I know some people, I've had a few people say, I don't even want a phone on my desk. I just want my extension to be either my cell phone or my laptop with a soft phone software on it.
Sure.
That seems to be a popular, well, it's not a super popular thing. Most people want a real hard phone on their desk, but is that something that you and do most provide that type of service?
Absolutely. Just as a bit of elaboration on that, we do have a soft phone client that we call Communicator. It can be downloaded from our site and work on your laptop. We also have a good number of customers that use us as essentially a virtual forwarding service. We also have smartphone apps, iPhone, Android, that can be used and that will have as the caller identification your business number rather than your personal number from your mobile phone. So yes, we have all of that.
Hey, Joel,
Please.
Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Success. Hey, this question is actually for Mitch.
Okay.
Mitch, when you decided to do this, or even later after you decided to do it, is it more reactive when your clients are coming to you talking about VoIP, or do you actively promote this? And if so, how do you get in front of your clients and get them to understand that you can provide this service?
Well, we kind of fell into it because there was, it was a relationship Pete Turpel had with a client, and when we kind of merged with Pete's group, there were a lot of scutches out there, scutch devices, and not a lot of phone systems. And you know, the scutch, in my experience, you either have, you know, a great experience with it, it works, and then it doesn't. So we have some customers we never hear from. Most of them, it's a matter of time before we hear of an issue. So I'm like, there's got to be a better way. And I started researching it. So anytime that a client doesn't have a phone system, I immediately go to the hosted VoIP solution. Also, we have replaced, you know, on occasion, and being a phone provider is not my primary, you know, goal. But on occasion, there's been situations where there's been older phone systems where they really couldn't have the communication and the ability to back each other up from location to location. So when I kind of shared a little bit about, oh, with this solution, you know, if you have a retail store and you've got a store full of customers and your phone's ringing off the hook and you can't get to the phone, why not after so many seconds it go ahead and ring store number 2 where they may not be busy, instead of hitting voicemail right away or losing that call or having them hang up and call somebody else. So it kind of depends on if you ask the right questions, but we don't want to be everything to everybody. But first and foremost, you don't have a phone system, we go with a hosted, you know, VoIP solution over a scutch, and that's pretty much the main force. Also, if they need that unified communications, meaning, boy, I'd really like to get my voicemail into my email, or I would really like, you know, simultaneous ring where, you know, I've got commercial guys that are in the office sometimes and they're out of the office. I want it to ring their desk on their phone and ring their cell, so they don't have to worry about, oh, I forgot to forward to my cell or this or that. They don't have to do anything. It just rings in both places if they're mobile workers. So when I have that situation, that's a good sweet spot. But it's typically, you know, somebody that might have 15 phones or less. You know, if they're getting into, you know, 15, 20 users, then maybe an on-premise solution might be better, but it kind of depends on how much phone traffic and how much bandwidth they have.
And let me actually jump in on that. I understand that your businesses are on-hold messaging. I understand that getting into the telephony business in any way is a little scary, and it's also a little annoying because it's a distraction from what you do. We will work with you at any level that you want us to. I've already had several of you that we've been working with where you've called me and said, look, here's a customer, they need help, can you have someone call them? And we do. In Mitch's case, Mitch just simply calls me and says, we set up another account, or maybe he doesn't even call me, he just goes ahead and does it, and it works. If there's an issue, he calls me and I respond. That is really the continuum that we're on. So as I said earlier in the presentation, this is an opportunity for us to work together, or for you and any VoIP provider to work together to make sure that it works for you, helping your business, not distracting from it.
May I jump in here, Joel? Michael here again.
Please.
Yeah, I just as a history, and no, I got dogs in the fight here, but I've done this. I've been a customer for over 6 years, and a couple of things to keep in mind. Yes, I have a little bit of background in telephony, so I have done that. Some people don't. Well, if you don't want to do that, don't. Just be a referral partner. Let the provider take care of the details. You might get paid a little bit less, but you don't have to be a phone system expert. So keep in mind that you don't have to be overwhelmed by this. Make it super simple. Number two, just to be wide open in the industry here, I work with multiple hosted companies. They're non-exclusive agreements. So if there's a match that's better for one or the other, then that's the way I'm going to point them. So it's not like you have to put all your eggs in one basket. You can make it super simple, referral only, multiple companies. Just do something, because my goal, or 6 years ago, was I want to learn about this so I don't lose my customers, because otherwise they're going to change and I'm going to lose them. There's my speech.
Thank you, Michael. Other questions? Go ahead, Mitch.
I'll chime in also, guys. Managing your customer's expectation from the outset is paramount into a successful relationship. You're not their internet provider. You're not, unless you are, but typically you're not their internet provider. You're not their network guy, okay? You're not there to necessarily, unless you're compensated for it, show them every feature on the telephone. They come with manuals. They're all online. There's videos all over YouTube on how to use this Polycom phone. And, you know, my experience has been, guys, you know, I set up a quick web sharing, screen sharing session. I kind of walk the manager through it. It's up to them to make sure their office people kind of understand how to use it. If you set that up from the beginning, they're not going to pepper you to death. And it could be a big time suck if you don't set it up properly and manage their expectations. So, my biggest suggestion and my advice would be just set it up like that. It's an enabler. It's a great way, great caller experience, but phone.com or Vonage or whoever the provider is, they're the tech support. They're the ones with the servers. You can't necessarily help them. You're there to do their greetings. And if you decide to do the programming and make it a great experience, you're not their IT guy. So be warned that don't let them suck you into that unless they're paying you big money, okay?
And let me add to that. I didn't mention earlier, one of the approaches that we take is that when you sign up for the phone.com channel partner program, we have an onboarding session where we get online with you. We go over what our portal looks like, how you get to it, what you can do with it. We go over pricing. We go over all the basic details, but it doesn't stop there. Once you've had your onboarding session, it's going to be a learning experience. We are your partner. We view it that way, and hopefully anyone else that you're using would view it that way as well. Other questions? I'm not hearing any.
Okay, if we don't have any, then I think we did a great job because we did it in under an hour. And everybody knows how to get a hold of Joel. Of course, he is he's on the OMA website, his contact info. I'm adding him tonight to the vendor list. I noticed that, and also I want to get with you, Deanne, if there's anybody else that is a vendor of OMA, a new one that is not on there, I'll make sure that all gets up there. And thank you everybody for attending. I think we peaked at about 41, maybe 42 participants.
One last thing, Mitch.
Yes, sir.
If anyone has any questions from a guy that's been doing this for a while, I'm open. You can always call me one-on-one if you want.
Likewise.
And that's good. Thanks, Joel, for doing this webinar. Thanks, Mitch, for hosting. Really appreciate it. And a quick OMA announcement. The 2017 conference will be from May 4th to 17th in Alexandria. We're calling it Washington, D.C., but we are in Alexandria. And look for an announcement package from Deanne in the next little while. I hope everybody can come.
The 14th through the 17th?
No, May 4th through 7th.
7th, got it.
2017.
Got it.
All right. Thanks, everybody, for coming.
And Deanne,
Thank you all very much.
for putting it together. Thank you, Deanne.
Thank you. Thanks, guys.
Okay.